Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And, with technology comes problems, solves problems. But, I remember back a long time ago on the team when they said we were going to go paperless. And I tell you what, we printed out more crap than we ever did before we went paperless. I don't know how much technology is really helping, but damn, we killed some trees back then because everything we did, yeah, we might have briefed it electronically, but we had to print it out for the boss because you had to have the read ahead, and you can't read ahead electronic. And yeah, and we were folks. The reason I'm bringing this up is in the green room we were all talking about headphones and Bluetooth and linking up, and we all just kind of said, you know what, if you want to make sure it works, you got to plug the damn thing in. I mean,
yes, sir. I don't know if it's specifically the Bluetooth and the wireless, but I think there's something to be said with the idea that each one of those solutions creates two more problems. And hell, there's probably tech out there to solve those problems, but it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. Well, and folks, for those of you who are listening on the radio in your truck driving to work right now, instead of watching us on YouTube, watch us on YouTube when you get home. But when you watch, you'll see Mark's all wired up. And that was why we were talking about that. He's like, hey, I've tried all these fancy this, that, and the other. And here we are with the plug it in and it works. Right, Mark?
Hey, I'm glad my computer actually has a place to plug it in. Like all the phones, a lot of the phones don't have a port anymore to plug headphones in. So either you figure out the Bluetooth or you just, you be that rude person in public with your speakerphone on, just yelling at things.
Oh, don't get me started on that. I was in the airport this weekend. So yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. When I was thinking about this, one of the things that always pops to mind, by the way, I used to be a really big fitness guy, and then I got broke. I'm not as big of a fitness guy. I'm a maintenance guy now. What got you into the fitness world, Mark? What got you doing that was who and what you wanted to be?
Yeah, great question. Growing up, I never had the thing that I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be like, I literally never had that. Like my dad was a salesman. He sold everything you could possibly imagine. For the majority of like my high school and junior high years, he owned a used car lot up in Sherman, Texas. And that's just what he did. Like he was a salesman. So I never had this like big vision of the career path that I was going to go. And so when I went to college, I initially was going to be a chiropractor. And the only reason I was really going to be a chiropractor was my dad had gone to one. They seem like they make decent money and they help people. And I was like, oh, that seems kind of fun, whatever. I don't know. So I start college at the University of North Texas. I'm on this like pre-med track, which is basically a biology degree. And then you go to chiropractic school itself. And I got to organic chemistry. And it might as well have just been Sanskrit. Like, I don't know what the fuck was happening in that class. And like I went for tutoring and I went for, I got all the help I could possibly get. And I was a straight A student my entire life. Like I graduated cum laude from college. Like I made great grades and I was really great at math and science, but that like organic chem, just the concept of it, I couldn't even grasp. And it was at that point that I discovered that chiropractic college has more organic chemistry than any other science. I'm like, oh, well, all right, I guess it's time for me to do something else. And I had all these science credits already. And I kind of, went to the counselor. It was like, okay, where do I go from here? Like, I don't want all this to be wasted. I don't want to spend an extra 4 years here. And the quickest route was a kinesiology degree. So I switched my major to kinesiology. I got that degree. I met some people at college that were personal trainers at the time. I was done with school. Like I didn't want to stick around and go be a physical therapist or, go further into it. So I started training and I get compliments on my looks that I look younger than I am, but this will age me. My first training job was at Bally Total Fitness. And if you know what Bally Total Fitness is, A, you should probably go get your prostate checked, but B, Like, they're not around anymore. Like they're long gone, bankrupt and out the door. But that was my first job as a personal trainer. And that just kind of jump started the thing. I ended up at Lifetime Fitness in Plano, Texas in 2003. And I've been in the fitness realm ever since then. And we'll talk about some of the other things I do later, but that was the beginning of it all. And I was blessed to get around some really great leaders, not managers, but leaders. And I had, I'm in my early 20s, so I don't even know what any of that means at that time. But I just knew there were good people around me that were teaching, that were pouring into us, that I knew it was more than just the revenue that they were looking for. There was a love for fitness and the culture that we had. There was a love for helping people and serving people and making money at the same time, which is awesome because I like money just as much as anybody else does. But it just spawned my love of serving others. And I found a passion for it and it really just grew from there.
What was it that hooked you originally? Because I think, you can look at a few different things there. There's the fitness aspect itself. There's the helping people, like you mentioned. There's the entrepreneurial side of it. There's the coaching aspect. There's all these kind of other little areas of what you do. What was it that first hooked you in?
I think in the beginning, like when I was working at Valley, that shit was hard. Because like we were in Lewisville, Texas, which is, it's not poor, but it's not affluent, right? And so selling training was really, really difficult. And I still had another job that I'd had during college. So I'm working 2 jobs. And when I got the opportunity to work at Lifetime Fitness, super upscale, we were charging more than I've ever charged before, but there was fun. Like I started having fun and I value that. And as I got older, I realized how much I really valued it. But I think that was part of it, is just like I looked forward to the day. I looked forward to getting up and helping people. I found joy in what I was doing, and then realized that I was able to really make an impact on a very personal level with a lot of people. And I believe whatever we do in life, as far as work goes, like it's meaningful for someone somewhere. And even if you're the back end of the home loan and you're just the person doing the paperwork and you never see a customer or you never see anybody, like it's still important. But for me, like I've always been that people person. I hate that term, but it is what it is. We all know what it means. Like I've always been a people person. So I got to be face to face with multiple people every day. I got to be in a lively, energetic environment, which also suited me. Like I couldn't ever imagine sitting, in a cubicle or in a desk or in an office all day long. Like that there's zero joy in that for me. And so the fun aspect, the joy aspect, the purposefulness just continued to draw me in. And at any given time, even throughout my career, when I was struggling at times, I would always look at the people that I was serving in that moment and know that I was right where I was supposed to be. Like, as hard as things would get at times, I'm like, man, maybe I'm going to have to go like get an actual job, because this isn't working out. But I would I would look at the people, like who's in front of me right now. Okay, well, I'm supposed to be here because they're in my path and I'm supposed to be the one that's helping them right now. And, clients come and go, but I still get messages from people I trained years ago saying, hey, just think about you. Thanks so much for what you did for me. You really jump-started my journey and I'm still working out and I kept off all the weight. And, I mean, that's huge. That's not just changing their life. That's changing the lives of the people around them too. So that purpose just continued to grow over the years. But I really think it was rooted in just an enjoyment of, okay, I could see myself doing this for a really long time because it's actually enjoyable.
Let's talk a little bit about how you went from just having fun to creating a process, because I think that's where a lot of people don't make that transition, and they just continue to have fun. And when you could just, and there's nothing wrong with having fun. This ain't what I'm going towards, but it limits the ability to grow a business, because if you're just woohoo, let's dance to this song. No, I want to dance to that song, sort of thing. Then you know what? You ain't getting the process. But if you're two-stepping or square dancing, or I guess line dancing now is what people do, right? Line dancing, right? There's a process. There's a process to it. And that's different. Man, I'm really reaching for this metaphor today. Look out, folks. But when did that happen? Because you had to have something, because you couldn't have gotten to where you are today in that success that you're at, the level that you're at with business and life, without having some processes integrated into it, with dealing with clients, dealing with how to train the clients, how to get clients, all those sort of things.
Yeah, it is definitely I'm going to say it was slow. It's a slow evolution of figuring out your place in that time. There's a company called Precision Nutrition, and they're a very well-known, highly respected nutrition certification agency. They've been around for quite a while. And the founder of that company used to talk about, in the beginning, when he started as a personal trainer, he would just say yes to everything because he was new. He wanted experience. He needed the money. So it was yes, any opportunity that came his way. Yes. And as time went on, there were more no's and more no's and more no's, until he got to a stage in his career where he had the clarity that I'm only going to do these 4 things. And it was 4 very distinct things. And if what comes across my path doesn't align with any of those 4 things, I don't do it. And he was in a position where he could have people say no for him, which is really awesome. And so I think when you start early on in any career path, you have no idea. You have zero idea. You may know a little bit of the technical side of the thing that you're doing, but you don't know where it's going to go. So in the early stages of a fitness career, I'm just training everybody, trying to figure out, who do I like to train? Who do I want to train? Do I want to train the really super deconditioned people who haven't worked out for 20 years and everything hurts? Or most trainers have this delusion of, I'm just going to train all these athletes, which is very, very few people do that. Do I want to train men? Do I want to train women? Who do I connect well with? In the conversation in between sets, who can I build rapport with really quick that they want to come back, regardless of how bad I'm going to kick their ass, but they're still excited to show up, right? And so I think that process just gets built over time of honing in more and more on, what do I want? What do I want my business to look like? Who are the type of people I want to be around? In the training world, people love to complain. But there's a difference between the banter that we have in the gym of oh, fucking burpees again, come, and somebody legitimately complaining about something. And I don't get those people anymore because of my personality and the culture that I've been able to build in my gym. We just don't have those people. They will work themselves out really fast because I built a positive culture. I built an encouraging culture. I built a culture of hard work that has that banter and that, I get told I'm number one, several times a day. But it's all in jest, and everybody leaves with a smile on their face and they walk back in the next day with a smile on their face. But I think you have to constantly ask yourself and analyze that process. The way you get clients now is not the way you got them 50. I've been training for over 20 something years. So we didn't have Facebook and Instagram, and people still were barely using email marketing. All the modalities that we have now to attract attention to ourselves didn't even exist when my career started. So the process looks zero like it looked 20 years ago. However, I still know the purpose that I'm trying to serve. And so when you can hone in on your purpose and your mission, not even just in your career, but the world in general, my mission in life is to leave people better. And that's the end of the statement. There's nothing else to that. So any way, shape, or form that I can leave people better, that's what I'm going to do. And of course, that's going to bleed into the business. So, when somebody reaches out or emails us or fills out the little form online and says they're interested, that's my primary objective, is to make sure that I leave them a better human than before they found me. And if that means they work with me for years, awesome. If that means we have one conversation and I never talk to them again, totally fine. It's still, the mission never changes. So again, that process is just an ever evolving, ever changing. Hey, what's working now? What doesn't work anymore? I had this business coach a while back, and you guys know this, in leads, getting leads in a business is one of the hardest things for most people. And then some industries are a little bit easier, but people were always looking for new ways to get leads. And the question he would always ask is, your last 5 clients, where do they come from? And somebody, you know, they say, oh, the, you know, referral or a Facebook ad or whatever. He goes, okay, we'll do more of that. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, just you do more of that until it stops working. Like, if it's obviously working for you, so just do more. You're like, oh shit, like I'm an idiot, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the process, right? That's the, you know, analyze, implement, adjust, and you move forward. But there's no answer to any of this. Like if there was, like the three of us, we'd be billionaires just chilling somewhere if we had the answer for any of it.
How did you start putting that process together? Because what I mean by that is, you know, it's ever changing, and it's really natural for those processes and systems and the culture for that matter, to evolve kind of naturally as you're starting up. But then there's also usually this moment in the business where you're like, okay, I need to write down the process. I need to actually start to define this stuff, and so I can, you know, make those changes and move forward with it, and, you know, kind of make those adjustments. And I think that's a bit of a pitfall, I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, that it's like, I understand how I did it, and I understand what the process is, but then like the idea of writing that up and handing it off to somebody because you're growing your team is a very, very different challenge. Could you talk a little bit about making that jump?
So for me, it was really getting around other people that were doing bigger and better and more than I was. I don't know, probably 2015, maybe 2016, I joined a coaching group that was specifically for fitness professionals. And it was the first time I was really around other people in my industry that were successful. Like that, you know, anybody would look and go, wow, you're running a legitimately successful business. So getting around those people, like, okay, well, what are these guys doing that I'm not doing? And that was a huge part of it was, oh, they have, you know, you think of like the employee manual when you like, you know, I worked at like retail in college, and there was this big fucking manual that you talked about killing trees earlier. Like this huge manual of you know, just a whole rainforest that was cut down so they could give you this thing that you're never going to look at. But I realized that's not the way that most small businesses operate, but they do have documented systems and processes. So it's like, okay, well, what happens when somebody calls you and says, hey, I'm interested in the thing that you have? Well, write it down. You know, do you call them back? Do you text them back? Do you email them back? Do you send them a fax? If they don't respond, what happens after that? If they do respond, what happens after that? When they say, hey, I'm ready to sign up, now what? Okay, well, now what do you do? Well, everything we do has a process. And if you just write it down as you go, it makes the process so much easier to relay to somebody else. And what's really great, a few years ago, I was able to hire an assistant because I needed it. And I had her do all of that because she was the one creating some of these systems for me. I said, hey, look, here's the end goal, right? And you know, in business, we talk about there's visionaries and there's integrators. And a lot of us, you know, if you're the owner, you end up playing both roles. But a lot of us as the owner are way more visionary than we are integrator. So we need some of those integrator people in our business that think in terms of systems and processes and efficiency. So I said, hey, look, like this is the outcome of this task. Do it however you want and write it down as you go. And she went, okay, I can do that, because she was very organized, very like that was her jam, right? So she essentially created the handbook of how to do all of the back end things, from ordering supplies to shipping boxes. Like we send out client gifts all the time. Well, there's a process to all that. And instead of me fumbling through it every time, I just said, hey, can you just write that down as you go? And she went, yeah, sure. So when she left and I hired somebody else, I went, hey, here's a document and here's all the things you need to know. And if you have any questions, come ask me. And then I'll go ask the other lady that quit, and I'll find the answer for you. But we so greatly overcomplicate that process because it's such an overwhelming mental task. You know, again, when you think about all the things that we do as a business owner in a day in, day out basis, it's a lot of stuff. It doesn't feel like it until you start writing it down. And it's like writing a book. You start and then they send back the edits and there's red all over the place. You go, screw it. We're not doing this. So it's, you know, but you have to utilize the people around you. You don't have to do all of this by yourself. And you talked about technology earlier, like there's a lot of good technology to help with these things too. You know, there's Loom and Zoom and Grammarly and there's all these AI programs that transcribe everything for you. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to make the time and effort to do it, because once you do it, it's done. That's the other thing, is that It's not like this ongoing task. I mean, there'll be things you add to the process, but if you have an ordering process in your business, you only got to write it down one time and then it's done. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
How did you shift in that same way? Because I always find this interesting because we deal with it too at Tribe and Purpose. From it's all about Mark because everybody wants to work with Mark to, hey, there's these other people here too, and get that and really delegate the personality of the organization to a larger pool. How did you, I want to say, what smacked you in the head like a 2x4 to let you know that. But whatever it might have been, it might have just been a little feather tickle on the ear. I don't know. How'd you come to the terms with that?
Greenbrier.
Yeah.
Greenbrier.
Right in the face. I've been around a lot of technicians turned business owner that really struggled with that transition from I'm the best, nobody can do it as good as I can. I'm going to hire some people, but I'm not really going to trust them. And really struggle to grow into the CEO role that they should be in. I've never really been like that. I developed such a great system in my gym that it was really easy to plug a human being into it. Now, personality is the hard part, right? And you never really know someone until you see them repeatedly over and over again. But part of it was the communication on my end, telling my clients, being very honest with them and saying, hey, look, like I'm pursuing other things in addition to this, so I need help because I can't do all the things that I want and I desire in my life, from business to personal. I got married a few years ago, had a baby, I got life going on just like everybody else. And I found that when I clearly communicate my objectives with my clients, I'll share with them what my goals are, what my revenue goals are. I don't care. That they respect that because thankfully I deal with quite a bit of business owners or C-level people that get that. So they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. If I'm going to go on vacation, I used to just leave. I'd just be like, hey, I'm not going to be here next week. Right? Y'all know how to get in. I'll write the workouts on the board. Don't kill yourself. I'll see you in a week. And what's really funny is they were okay with it. But at some level, I'm like, I don't feel good about that as the owner of just deucing out and going, hey, don't kill yourself. And so I brought in help and I communicated that effectively with my clients so they understood what the reason was. Why are we doing it? Am I leaving? That's the first question. Are you leaving? Are you going to sell it? Are you going away? I'm not going anywhere. I just don't need to be here all the time because I still control the most important aspects of the business. And I wouldn't bring anybody else in that I don't trust implicitly to train our clients or, follow up with our clients or reach out on a customer service side of things. So the communication aspect is huge. And I think that's where a lot of owners fail is they don't communicate that thing. And then the people that they bring in, they feel it. They're like, man, he brought me in, but I don't feel like he trusts me. I don't feel like I can just show up and do my thing. I don't feel like, I'm able to fully do my job because he's still trying to do 10 other things that I thought that's why he brought me in. When I'm not here, I got this great coach, Josh. I hired him in November of 22. And this is a funny story. I hired this, I'm going to call him a kid. He's young. I hire this kid. 2 days later, I leave because my baby's born and I'm gone for 3 weeks. It was his first training job ever. But here's the thing. Again, we talk about the systems, right? I was confident in the systems that I had implemented in my gym. I was confident in the way that our clients know what to do when they come in. I mean, they're still here to get coached. We're going to coach them on the fitness side of things. But the flow of things when they walk in the door, they all know what to do. So I was confident that I can literally put a warm body in here and everything would be okay for a few weeks. Obviously, I had to come back. But I had no qualms about, oh shit, everything's going to fall apart and he's going to piss everybody off. I had no issues with any of that because of the systems that I had in place. And he's still here with me. He's fucking fantastic. He's a great coach. And it took him a while to figure out the personality of the gym. Again, being young has its advantages and its disadvantages. Like he was very timid in the beginning and like he didn't want to piss anybody off or step on anybody's toes. I'm like, dude, just relax. Like it's all right. Like these people are fun. And he quickly realized, oh, like there's a good system here. Like I can just sit back and actually coach people. I don't have to, babysit people, and I don't have to be like, come on, it's time to get to work. Like we don't have to do any of that. Like they're here to work out. They're here to be coached. We provide the feedback they need. We provide the encouragement and the push that they need. But it was great for me to just have people like that where I can go on vacation and leave for a week and not worry about it. I can go to a business conference and not have to worry about the gym. So long answer to this question, but it was because of my desire to do more in life. I knew that something had to happen and I couldn't just be the only person here all the time doing all the things.
I love the importance of communicating your why with that, your personal vision and how that ties in with, the organization and the client's team, all those aspects there. But I think there's an interesting piece. And to be fair on this, Mark, you might be looking down the pipeline a little bit, so we might be future casting a little bit on this question, but that's all right. As the organization continues to grow, you mentioned that one coach. I think you said his name was John. I might have just completely made that up though. Okay, Josh. There we go. I was close enough. So you communicating that to Josh and getting him on good ground is great. And then you're a little bit further removed, and Josh is bringing on somebody. And 2 or 3 chains down on that, where now that why might be getting watered down. It's like a game of telephone at some point. What are your thoughts on trying to make sure that it doesn't get too diluted? I go into the mix, I guess. You're putting it in there and everyone's getting it right away, but as you add more and more, it's going to get a little bit watered down. What's your process to prevent that, I guess?
So I think number one, you have to have your own clarity in what you want for your life. So is it a business you want to keep forever? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to be gone in a few years? Like you really have to know what that looks like. And if you don't, that's fine. So then you have to be present in the moment. With me, what I've done with Josh is just let him shine and let him put his personality on things and let him put his spin on things and let people learn him. And fortunately, he's a lot like me. He's not me at all, but he's a lot like me in the way that he interacts with people, the way that he quickly connects with people, and his love for watching people transform. So it's my responsibility then to foster that within him. So when the next person comes in, he does the same exact thing. And yeah, like, if I leave in a few years, I mean, the whole thing will change. It won't be anything like me at some point, and I won't care because I won't be here. If I plan to stick around, it's always going to have my thumbprint on it, but it doesn't need to be me anymore. It needs to be the people that are facing the clients. We run a fitness facility that is face-to-face 4 to 5 times a week with every one of our clients. That's a lot of interaction. So, if 3 years from now I still own it, but I just own it and I don't train anymore, nobody needs to know who the fuck I am. Like, my personality doesn't matter at that point. Do they like showing up for the coaches that are here at that point? That's the most important thing. So you just gotta put your ego aside and be like, hey, like what are you doing here? Again, if your purpose is to own and collect money and not have to do a whole lot of work for it, well, then do that and be good with it. Go find something else to do that helps you serve your purpose. Again, never easy. Like we can say all these things and it sounds super simple. Which simplicity is key, but it's never an easy process. But I think your own personal clarity really does wonders for helping cast the vision and allow other people to just shine and do their thing and be who they are.
Let's talk about your personality. So, yeah, exactly. Aggressively joyful. Again, folks that are driving your pickup truck down the road, listen to us on a podcast. When you come back home and you watch us on YouTube, you'll see what Mark's shirt says. So what does aggressively, I'm thinking, I'm getting heebie-jeebies right here. I'm like, dude, don't hug me, man. We just met. That's what I'm thinking. It's like that kind of aggressively joyful. What is aggressively joyful?
I am a hugger, by the way.
No.
So I have always been a happy person. Most people that know me would say I'm the happiest person they know. I always have a smile on my face. Like very rarely does the world get to me. That's kind of the way I've operated for most of my life. And there's some influence that I had in my childhood that I kind of realized later on lent itself that way. But I do believe part of my own innate personality is optimistic and happy and joyful. A few years ago, I started to really dig into that because, like everybody else, I've had shit happen in life that's, not the greatest, right? I don't pretend to have some big sob story. Like I never went to prison. I've never been homeless. I've never been addicted to drugs. None of that stuff. I just struggled like people struggle, right? But I started to question.
Everybody's got a struggle.
Everybody's
got a struggle, man.
We got a president that looks like a Roomba. So, if you're doing better than that, you're all right. Anyway,
how have I not heard Roomba? That's it.
President Roomba.
How have I not heard that one? Come on.
Bounces around. So anyway, at some point, I started to question myself. Maybe not quite. Like explore. Okay, but why am I like this? Like, is it just me, quote unquote, or is there something to this? And the more I analyze, I'm like, no, there's very specific things that I do. There's very specific habits. There's very specific things I read, all the way down to the people I surround myself with, to what my Facebook feed looks like, that I surround myself with positive energy. I surround myself with positive people. I read the Daily Stoic every day. I express gratitude every day. I pray every day. As much as I can, I'm present in the moment with whatever it is, whether, doing a podcast, like I'm present with you guys right now. I'm engaged in this conversation, doing my best not to think about the 800 things I got to do later on, right? Which is very hard to do in this world. And I realized like I can teach this too. Like, and not everybody's going to have the same level of joy, but, I look at joy as a deep-seated feeling that no one and nothing is going to take away from me. So I can be sad and be joyful at the same time. I can be angry. I'm not anger. I can experience anger in a moment, but I can still have joy in my life. So, to me, happiness is a feeling as well. Like I can be happy one moment and not happy the next moment, but I can always be joyful. So I recently started up a company called The Joy Code. And the whole purpose is coaching people on how to live with more joy and fulfillment in their life, which Lord knows the world needs that. And especially men. I have a men's coaching group called The Club that is specifically for that, because we're the ones that stuff our feelings down and we don't talk to anybody and we don't share with anybody. And either we just explode one day, like literally with a heart attack, or we lash out at the world and piss everybody off around us. Like there's a lot of lonely men in this world who need support, who need community, who need help. And on paper, they may look successful because they got the money and they got the things, but they're just miserable people. We all know people like that. So the aggressively joyful comes from me being joyful, number one, but I am aggressively pursuing this mission in a way that I've never pursued things before, because that's not my nature. My nature is not aggressive. People may say like my training style may be slightly aggressive, but like I'm not an aggressive human being. I'm happy. I'm cheerful. I let things roll off. Like it's just not me. But at the end of last year, like my wife and I always pick a word of the year. We've been doing that for years now. And that's the word that came up was aggressive. Like it's time to be aggressive. It's time to speak more about what I'm doing and pursue more about what I'm doing and share more to make the impact that I want to make. Because, in this world of promoting anything, like if you're not your biggest fan, you can't expect anybody else to be your fan either. And especially in the coaching realm, like there's so many, oh my God, there's so many guys just yelling at people and, dudes paying $15,000 to go get drug in the sand and yelled at and cussed at or whatever. You know what? If you need that, fantastic, go join the military. But if you just are looking to be a better human being and a better man and a better husband and a better father and a better business owner and somebody who has control over their emotions, then there's better ways to do that. Like you don't have to go get belittled and yelled at and dragged in the mud and hosed off in the freezing cold. Like again, if that's your jam, have at it. But there's just a better way to do that. And so this aggressive side of it for me is making sure that I'm spreading my message any and every way that I can to anybody that will listen, and people who won't listen either. I'll still tell them. I don't really care.
I think there's a really interesting piece there of, talking about like seeing the joy in yourself and then wanting to, give that to others. Of the term that comes to mind, and you'll appreciate this, just from the athletic sense of it, but of talent versus skill there. And like that you have this talent towards joy, towards being aggressively joyful. And then it's like, okay, well, I want to give this to folks. And you start to realize that there is this natural talent that's not as easy to teach as that skill part of it. Could you talk a little bit about kind of teasing those out and how you try to help other people learn to be more joyful?
Yeah, I think, part of it is really understanding, where somebody came from, what their background is. And I don't need all the dirt, but, did they have a good upbringing? Did they have a bad upbringing? Was their father present? Was their father not present? Did they grow up poor, rich, middle class? Like, all those things affect us in some way, shape, or form. And the second step, then just understanding, like, where are they in life right now? Are they single? Are they married? Do they have kids? What are their goals? What are their ambitions? And then from there, so that gives me as clear as can be, it gives me a picture of who this person is that I'm talking to. And then, okay, well, what are your habits? Like, what do you do every day? From the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, what do you do? Do you get up 5 minutes before you need to be out the door? And you're scrambling around and everything's just fucking frantic all the time and you're cussing the traffic and you're going to where you need to go and your life's just chaotic. That's a lot to work with. I like those people. Like, we got all kinds of room to grow there. Or are you the type of person that you're already getting up at 5 a.m. and you're going and working out and you're reading a little bit and you're meditating and you're taking time for yourself before anybody wakes up, and then you're present for your children and you take them to school? Are you serving a purpose? Do you have purpose and fulfillment already? So we break down all those habits, and then I can say, okay, well, either A, I can help you, or B, I don't think I can help you, which most people I believe I can help get better in some way, shape, or form. But then it's just lending my advice and my experience, and my experience of coaching for 20 something years is huge as well. So I don't always have to just pull from my own experience. I can say, hey man, like, I had this client, Otis, and I remember him talking about this and dealing with this. And here's what I remember him saying really helped him through that. So maybe we can implement that for you. But it's really it's honestly just asking a lot of questions to figure out where somebody is between the ears, and then just being honest. And I was told this by somebody, and I never really thought about it, of why they believed I'm an effective coach. And it's because I have no ego when it comes to coaching. Like, I don't need to shine. I don't need to impart on you how wise I am and how great I am. I don't need any of that. Again, my mission is to leave you better. So how can I do that? I put my ego aside. I ask a lot of questions. I listen as best as I can. And then I give feedback off of what I hear. And so again, when coaching men, it tends to put them at ease, because they don't feel like they need the bravado and they don't need to show up in this big way. They can just be who they are and relax and put their ego aside. And then we can actually have an honest, fruitful conversation. Once again, simple, not easy at all. But it's, that's the process for me.
Share with us something, and machismo keeps coming to mind, by the way. But share with us something that you learned from a client, because that was a great reference. And I always love that, because, it's really cool as a coach to hear a client have an aha moment. But there's quite a few times where I have an aha moment when I'm talking to a client. So you got anything off the top of your head that you can recall?
So a couple of years ago, I was in a mastermind, a very high level mastermind, and I was a coach in that mastermind. So I was coaching people like doing millions and millions of dollars in business. And two things really come to mind. Number one, people got people problems. And everybody's got people problems. And it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank or how big your team is or anything. People are dealing with the same shit. Everyone is. Mm-hmm. And the second part of that is everyone deals with imposter syndrome at some level. And so if you're listening and you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's basically the feeling of like, who am I to share this? Or who am I to say this? Or, man, I don't know anything, regardless of how acclaimed you may be, and you could be decades in business, but people still deal with that feeling of like, I'm not worthy of sharing my gifts and my knowledge and my talents and my skills with anyone, because who am I? I've done nothing. And everyone deals with that. And it kind of blew my mind because, you look at people and we put people in boxes, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just, I think that's human nature. But you look at somebody like, man, they got their shit together, and, they got that big house, and man, look at that car they're driving, and their wife's beautiful. And meanwhile, they're over there going, man, that guy's really fucking happy. I wish I was just happy. If I could only just be happy, that would really be awesome. So I'm looking at this dude going, man, if I just had that, and he's looking at me going, man, if I just had that, we're all dealing with the same shit. And that was really eye-opening to me, because you hear a few stories like that here and there, but when it was repeated over and over and over again, I'm like, man, we're all the same. And I read a lot of Stoicism. And if you look back at the writings of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and all those guys, if you change the verbiage to modern day language, you would not know it was written 2,000 years ago, because they were also dealing with the same shit that we deal with now. Like, we never learned. I don't know why. I think the journey is the seeking of knowledge, not the actual gaining of knowledge, because we seem to just repeat the same stupid things over and over again. But yeah, those were two really revealing things to me. And for me, because I coach a lot of people. I mean, that's what I do. I coach. And I coach a lot of people who, again, on paper are more successful than me from a revenue standpoint. But that doesn't mean they're any better than me. And that doesn't mean that they think they're any better than me either. So, it goes every which way. But again, like, people are people, and we all have the same, like, 4 things that we do all the time.
Yeah, I think that's great. I can remember the first time I read Meditations thinking the same thing. I'm going, holy shit, he wrote this 2,000 years ago? Jeez.
The wild.
Yeah, it's an impressive thing to think about that. Share with us your Stoic tool. What do you do? Do you read the book? Do you read an app? Share with us that.
So I read the Daily Stoic every day. Again, for those of you who don't know, the Daily Stoic is a book. It's got a passage literally for every single day of the year. It takes you like 2 minutes to read if you're slow, like I am. I've been reading it for probably 7 or 8 years now. Whenever it came out, I got it, and I've read it every single year since then. And it's amazing how you can read something repeatedly and hear something different every single time, because you're different. Hopefully. So I have that. I have a tattoo. I'll show it here a little bit if you're watching online. Mm-hmm. It's Memento Mori. It looks like the coin that I also have. So I got the coin here. And that's on my left forearm. And I live in Texas, which means I'm in a t-shirt like 95% of the year. So I see this tattoo. All the time. Like, it's the visual reminder of my mortality. It's the visual reminder that this could be the last day. It's the visual reminder to be present and live and enjoy this moment, because we're never going to get it again. And, I got kids, and I have a 22 and a 16-year-old and then a 15-month-old. And so I have this time perspective now of how fleeting it is and how fast it goes. So having these Stoic reminders around me really helps to just, again, live and be present and not always be looking ahead and what ifing this and what ifing that, and just enjoy life. Again, that leads back to my joy that I have, because, Lord willing, I got another, 50, 60, 70 years maybe left. But if I don't, I want this day to be a good one. And I do, I don't always get it right. And I'm not perfect like anybody else, but, I do my best to have a good day every day and be able to lay my head down at night and be like, you know what, that was a good day. Like, I did good. I told, I loved on some people. I served my mission. I laughed and smiled. I had time with loved ones, probably ate some good food somewhere along the line. Like, I did the things that fulfill me so I can go be fulfilling to other people in the world.
That's awesome. And I think that's a great way to, when you think about one of the fundamentals of Stoicism and learning and continuously learning, and not knowing that you know everything, but knowing that you don't know everything, because you cannot learn what you think you already know. And for me, I think it was a great reminder to come to terms with that. People are people. We've always been people. No matter how much technology there is out there, we still do the same stupid things and the same great things.
Yep.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, it is really what it amounts to, going back to the beginning of humankind. I think that's a really powerful thing to keep in mind. And now all kinds of stoic things are popping into my head as I say that. I feel very stoic right now. But yeah, so that for me was a great reminder. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
I just want to add on to that also, just, talking about businesses and organizations, all processes, systems, all these kind of things, how often they always come back to human problems at the same time. I always think is a really interesting piece of it. It's like, understand the human component of even just writing a process out is so important at the same time. But no, I have two quick ones. One, because I'm going to do two, because one, I'm just making fun of you, Dad. Apparently, all the kids are into line dancing. You said something about that earlier. When I go out to rugby practice tonight with U of A boys, I'm going to have to ask them how many of them go out line dancing, because apparently they're just doing it all the time now. That's the hot thing with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right, Dad?
Yeah, there you go.
But no, the other piece, honestly, was I need to keep saving up money for my next tattoo, because I've got a Memento Mori themed tattoo planned, and it's next on my list. And it's been a year since my last one, so about time I start saving up to get that one.
There you go. Mark, how about you, man? What'd you learn?
What comes to mind is, Camden, you talk about skill and talent, and I never really thought about the joy that I have and how I'm translating it to the world. That really framed it in a way that I've never really thought about it before. So I got to kind of marinate on that a little bit, but I think there's some marketing and some messaging that I can utilize that. So thank you for that. That was great.
Awesome. Mark, how do folks find you, get in touch with you, see what you're going on, look at your 8 pillars of joy?
Honestly, the easiest way is Facebook. Like, if you just look me up on Facebook, I post multiple times a day, every single day, from memes to pictures of my cute ass baby and my hot wife and everything else under the sun. That's the easiest way to find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a book called Make Good Choices. You can find that on Amazon. I have a podcast called Make Good Choices. You can find that everywhere podcasts are. And if you're interested in the fitness side of things, marczfitness.com is where all my fitness stuff resides. But listen, there's only one of me, and I'm not very hard to find. Like, my phone number is published everywhere. So, like, if you find it, just text me. I don't care. Like, it's literally in my book. And every now and then I've had people text me like, "Hey, I got your number. Is this really you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." And they're like, "Oh shit." So, I'm not a hard man to, like, I'm a business guy. Like, I want people to do business with me. I got to help them find me. So I'm not hard to find. Just put my name in the Googles and I pop up everywhere.
That's awesome. I'm laughing at the oh shit, the reaction that people have. You have that physical reaction sometimes, and that's awesome. Mark, man, it's been great. Really enjoyed having you hang out with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Y'all are awesome, man. This was super fun. I was looking forward to this, and you did not disappoint. So I appreciate you guys.
Likewise.
Awesome. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Marc Zalmanoff, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, the full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again. We'll see y'all next time.